Hi guys, my name is Michael. Welcome back. In this video, I'd like to give you my opinion on what I think is going on in the global economy and also share with you how I see things playing out, as we move forward or as we move further down in the year. As you guys know, we're having a really interesting week. Donald Trump came out and tore the WTO framework in front of a global audience. And right now, there's a lot of uncertainty, in global economies, from China to the EU to Japan to Singapore. Everyone is scrambling, trying to find the best response to the tariffs imposed by Donald Trump. And depending on your politics, right, you might see what Donald Trump is doing as genius or stupidity. But one thing is clear, right? This thing that Donald Trump has started really cannot be stopped. This genie that has been let out cannot be put back into the bottle. So we really don't know where this is going to end or what is going to happen along the way. But what we do know and what is becoming clear to everyone is that, there is a new normal, right, on the horizon. And so we must begin to embrace, we must begin to adapt, as investors, we must begin to adapt and begin to sort of, transform our strategies to match up with the moment. Now, on this channel, right, I've been talking about disruptions and opportunities, and I've overflogged those two words on this channel, disruptions. I kept, have been announcing that, we are going to see a lot of disruptions. And I've told you guys that the opportunities that exist right now in this time between now and 2030 are opportunities that are baked into disruptions. So you must be able to take advantage of opportunities in the midst of disruptions. And I know a lot of you, when were not able to wrap this concept around your head because there was no sort of example to show you guys. But what we are seeing right now, this whole tariff issue, is an example of a disruption, right? Because Donald Trump has literally disrupted the global economy with what he's doing with the tariffs. And you might think that it is genius, you might think that it is, stupidity, but what Donald Trump is doing right now has huge impact on the global economy. So whether you're in the United States or not, right, this is going to affect you. The actions that are being taken by Donald Trump will affect everyone, regardless of your location, right? So it's important for us to keep that at the back of our mind. And this is why we need to pay attention of, what is going on, not just what is happening, not just what you're seeing on the news. You must be able to digest and understand this so that you can position adequately. Remember, I've drummed this thing into your head. I said, if you are caught up by the disruption, you will not be able to take advantage of the opportunity. If the disruptions get to you, these disruptions that are happening right now, if they catch up with you, you will not be able to take advantage of the opportunity. And one example of how, a disruption can hinder you from participating or taking advantage of the opportunity is what we are seeing right now with some investors, due to, all this tariff, due to what is going on in the global economy. We can tell that prices are going up, bills are catching up with a lot of people, expenses and everything. And that is also a disruption. And you think about it, right? If you're someone who is invested in all this crypto, XRP, XLM, and then, you know, prices are rising in your area, or your bills are catching up with you, or your expenses are catching up with you, what will happen then is that you will be forced to liquidate your assets. You will be forced to liquidate your holdings to sort your expenses or your bills. In that particular instance, the disruption, you've been disrupted by the disruption. So you cannot take advantage of the opportunities. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's important for us to understand what is going on, position ourselves right, in such a way that we are not disrupted, so that we can be uh, um, available to take advantage of the opportunities. Now, let's go back to Trump, right? Because Trump is making a lot of moves. Now, a lot of people are wondering, To what end? Right? What is Trump's goal with all these, big moves, these risky moves that he's making? Because whether you know it or not, the moves that Trump is making, right? The moves that Trump is making, they carry a lot of risk, especially when we're talking about a global financial system that has been hanging on a thread, right? This financial system has been hanging on a thread. It cannot take pressure. The global financial system in its current state cannot handle pressure. Do you get? And we all know that, when it comes to the financial system, it takes a while for the bodies to float to the top. So a lot of things could be breaking right now, and you would not even know. It takes a while. So something could have broken last week, right? But it's going to take a while for you to see the bodies float up, right? Maybe it's going to take a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Same thing that happened with Silicon Valley Bank, same thing that happened with Signature. Those banks had issues well before it was announced in the news, right? So it's important for us to understand that things could be breaking in the global financial system. So we need to be positioned. We need to be, focused. We need to understand what is going on, as we move forward. And this is why I always try to advise everyone that, don't just be too laser focused on crypto. You have to look at things holistically, right? Because a lot of people, right, who are just, single minded might not be able to grasp or understand, get a good understanding of what is happening. I always come on this channel to talk about gold. A lot of people might just be focused on crypto, XRP, and everything. And I just believe that you need to look at things holistically. I always talk about gold. I say, anyone that asks me, I always say, have some gold in your portfolio. We can see what is going on right now. I mean, most parts of the market are doing bad, but gold is holding up strong. Gold is holding up strong. This is why you have to be diversified, right? Not just across crypto projects, but across asset classes, because there will always be a bull market somewhere, right? So you must be able to, spread yourself in such a way that, even when one side is going down, there will be a bright light somewhere. Do you get? It's so important that we pay attention to all these things. Don't just, go laser focus. We know that crypto is going to do what crypto is going to do, but we have to be around for the bull market, for the wealth transfer. You need to be there. You need to be around. So it's a marathon, right? It's not just a sprint. So you need to it's like that parable where they talk about people who went with some lamps and oil, right? You need to, you know, uh, um, arrange yourself in such a way that you can stand the test of time. And that is what I'm trying to, bring to your attention. So we are going to see more disruption. This is just the beginning, right? We are going to see more disruptions, right, as we move forward. But like I said, something has started that cannot be stopped. Do you get? Something has started that cannot be stopped? And if you understand my sort of description of the global financial system that I've given to you guys in the previous video, I said the financial system is a water system. So money never really leaves the system. It just flows from one area to the other. So for instance, last week we heard that $6 trillion was erased from the stock market. Now, using my analogy or my concept of the financial system, we know that that money is still in the system, right? But that money is going to find a new home and new owners, right? So at some point, this is why we are positioned in crypto. We know that that liquidity at some point which will flow into the crypto space at some point. Now we don't know the date, we don't know the time, but at some point we are going to see liquidity flow into the crypto space. Another thing we must understand is that all these things that all the moves that Trump is making, right, is geared at one purpose, right? Trump wants interest rates cut down. Trump is trying to force the Fed chairman to cut interest rates, right? And we saw that in his tweet, right? He made a tweet, um, you know, yeah, I have the tweet here. He said this would be a perfect time for the Fed chairman Jerome Powell to cut interest rates. He's always late, but he could now change his image. So Trump is trying to all these moves, tariffs and everything. He's trying to force the hand of the Fed chair to cut interest rates. And we all know what happens when interest rates gets cut, right? When interest rate goes down, it means there's going to be a lot more money in the system, right? People are going to be able to borrow and, get cheap money, as we call it. So if you take a look at what happened in 2020, where we had like interest rate at almost 0%, if we had that same environment right now, there will be liquidity everywhere. And we know that when there's liquidity everywhere, people will take more risks, right? People will be able to, invest more in the crypto space and risky assets, as they are called. So it's important for us to understand all these moving parts, right? Trump's goal is for interest rate to be cut. Even though he's playing a very risky game at the moment, it's important for us to understand that his goal is for interest rate to be cut, right? But regardless of whether they cut interest rate or not, we have to be really patient and careful. Don't make rookie mistakes at this point, right? I know there's a lot of deep buying opportunity, but make sure you are focused on your highest convictions, right? On your highest convictions. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you're someone that believes that, XRP is your highest conviction, then, I've said this thing before, XRP below $2 is a buy. If it comes below $2, that is a no-brainer, right? Because we know it's going to bounce back again. It's going to go above $2 again, because a lot of people are waiting below $2 to buy XRP. So if you see XRP, if it can catch it below $2, it's a good buying opportunity. So we don't know if the bloodbath is done in the crypto space and in the stock market. Maybe, this coming week we might see the markets go down further, but it's important for you to pay attention to all these things, right? Pay attention to all these things. But most importantly, set yourself up in such a way that these disruptions do not take you out of your position. So you don't want a situation where you have a personal issue and then you have to sell your crypto assets to take care of that issue. And that's what we talk about disruptions, right? You don't want an issue where you don't want a situation where your bills are catching up with you or your expenses are catching up with you, and then you have to sell your XRP just to take care of your domestic issues. That scenario would mean that you have been disrupted, right? And so you cannot take advantage of the opportunities. So run in such a way, position in such a way that you can get to the end of the race, right? Don't just take all your money and dump it in crypto. Position in such a way that you can get to the end of the race, right? It doesn't matter, right? If you buy 1 million XRP, right? It doesn't matter. It makes no sense if you buy the whole XRP and at the end of the day you have to sell it to pay for rent, or you have to sell it to pay for your kids' school fees, right? If you can get to the end of the race with 10 XRP or 20 XRP or 50 or 500, is a lot better for you. I don't know if I'm making sense. So it's important for us to stay the course and be very, very wise in this season, because a lot of disruptions are going to come up. As a matter of fact, from next week, from next month, because the tariffs just started on Thursday, right? We are going to start seeing the ripple effects of the tariff, right? A lot of prices are going to go up. A lot of things are going to go up, right? Especially for nations that are, import heavy. A lot of prices are going to go up. So if you think that people are being squeezed right now, we don't know what's going to happen, in the next week or in 2 weeks' time. But what we do know is that at some point, there's going to be a window of opportunity, right? There's going to be a window of opportunity in the midst of this chaos. And so we must be very attentive so that we can take advantage of those opportunities. And, just make sure that, you're paying attention to everything. You're looking at things holistically. Also, I'm going to talk about gold after this video. It's so important that we pay attention to gold. Gold is very important right now, because what we are seeing here, the tariffs and all these things, it is eventually going to affect currencies. It is going to affect currencies. So we must position in such a way that, we are not disrupted, if I can put it that way. I hope this all makes sense. I'm just trying to bundle a lot of things into one video, but I hope this makes sense to you. Position very well, and make sure that you are wise in your investing, in your investment strategy is adapting to the times and the seasons that we are in, if I can put it that way. But anyway, guys, I hope you like this video. If you like contents like this, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.